Good evening, everyone. We're back, and we do have some brand new news, and you're looking at it now.
Right, yeah.
The squeaks are gone. We've eliminated the squeaks.
No squeaky
I don't know if we could
table.
keep Keri like these chairs swivel a bit.
They do.
So for years of annoying squeaks that we've heard on this thing that I just could not stand anymore.
Yes.
And that set was old, and it's just time for new stuff. Lots of new stuff.
Yeah.
We have to change the chairs, change the seat.
Yes.
But this is an interesting one. This is an interesting segment, guys, because we did some research and data on a very, 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 very profound topic. And it really was, I did spend some time with it.
Yes. It's an interesting.
And people are darn near stressed.
Yes, they are.
Are you stressed, Keri? You don't seem stressed.
No, I don't know. Some days. Some
Yeah?
days not. Yeah.
She's stressed when she sees the prices at the mall on clothes.
Yeah, that's stressful.
But it seems like a thing that's happening all over. And we're going to get into the details of the data. The data is really pointing to something profound. And it's interesting because there's so many things we could drive data from. And with the advances in artificial intelligence, we're able to put this data together to build a synopsis. Now, how is it going to apply to real estate is, and how we're going to apply it, and because these are what I call, these are like, everybody we talked about, we do stats, right? And we look at the numbers, and basically what the numbers suggest are just real estate related. But there's an undercurrent to everything that happens. And this is why this segment's important, because we look at the general sentiment of how people view their current situation and stress, and the triggers for stress are one of them. And we're going to get into those details because that's really interesting. Don't you find that interesting?
I do find it interesting to know what America's
kind of like thinking.
Yeah, everyone.
I mean, we notice it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
One thing we've noticed in the last year and a half to 2 years is people's level of stress is definitely elevated. And that has a lot to do with the general state of the economy, which has been, I think, between inflation, COVID relief, it's higher interest rates. These things have all culminated to make America a rather stressful environment. So let's get into some of the more profound things with like just economic news and data, and we'll start with number one.
Yes. So let's start with New York City.
Right.
What's happening with foreclosures here?
That's a good one, because this is where things really get interesting. So New York City, one of the things we look for in real estate is like foreclosure filings. Foreclosure filings in New York, there's 408 first-time foreclosures, 408 first-time foreclosure filings. Now, just to give context to that, these are still like at about where they were prior to the pandemic. But what we're trying to caution is that this has been accelerating at an ever-growing trend. So meaning that foreclosure rates, although still pretty nominal, the trajectory is moving up. And combining with the other numbers we're going to be talking about, you're going to see this. You're going to see there's even more data that says how much stress people are experiencing in their current living situations financially. So, so in New York, the Bronx is the highest, 73% year over year. Brooklyn, 36%. Queens and Staten Island each at 25%, and Manhattan rose at 15%. Manhattan, I think, was leading. These things will jump around, but the overall trend is significantly higher than it was a year ago. So people for first-time foreclosure filings are up. Okay, so that's really where we are as far in terms of foreclosures in New York City. So what do we got going on next? So it's not limited there, but
and what about New Jersey? Are we seeing similar increases?
Yeah, I think yeah. So now New Jersey counties in the metro area, which is Somerset, Morris, Hudson, Monmouth, Bergen, Essex,
Hmm.
is at a 2-year high. Each jumping multiple double digits, meaning Somerset is 54% increase in foreclosures year over year. Morris County 50%. Hudson County, which is like places like Jersey City, Hoboken, which has experienced quite a bit more foreclosure activity. So there is a significant downturn in the economic situations of people, and this is bearing out in the numbers. But we have, as we continue to go around, there's some leading indicators which may be a problem moving forward. So like where we go with this moving forward, these little we analyzed Google search trends. So basically, these are trends through. You've used it before, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So trends. This is what people are typing in their searches.
Yeah.
So what we were able to do is analyze data from trends of search topics. So like when you go into Google search trends, you could pick a topic and it will give you a series of like queries and how much increase or decrease they've seen over the course of from 2005, 2004, all the way up to current. So we've been able to take some of this data and give it to you and put it all together.
Yes. Now, when you put this data side by side, New Jersey and New York, what's the takeaway?
I think the takeaway is with the increasing in rates, maybe some resetting and some adjustables. We're seeing it's one of those things that if we're not hyper vigilant about, we may be seeing more downturn ahead. What concerns me about this report is where some of this other data from Google search trends is leading us. So that's really the Google search trend thing is really like where I'm seeing some significant like rises that usually would precede foreclosure. And we'll get into those numbers. So it is my takeaway is that it's showing basically as the leading indicators can keep pointing, flashing like a yellow or a red. So for the housing market, that's not a these numbers aren't the best sign in the world that things are really doing extremely well. I think some people when they're looking at the real estate market, these things will now be incorporated into how we look at projecting future real estate trends. Where we've developed, and I begin the process of like coming up with some modeling on how this may look for real estate prices moving forward. But we'll see how that pans out. I'm working on it. It takes some time.
How does this compare to other downturns like 2008 or the pandemic in 2020?
2008 and
Yes.
2020. So one of the things we analyze in the data is like these trends, how they kind of like. So while things may be historically low, it's the rate of rise. It's the rate of rise we've seen these trends increase at. Okay, so we take a snapshot of the 2008 market, we take a snapshot of the current market, and we looked at everything in between. So what we try to analyze is the data between the sets to see if there's any correlations, and there are some significant ones. So when it comes to, and we're going to get to one of them, which is very similarly, and that's like Q5 question. That's the next question, but kind of leads into it. People are searching for bankruptcy near me or help with debt. These are Google search trends that are in breakout territory over the last 3 to 4 months. And the last time they've been as high as this was pre 2008 crisis. So what it's really indicating is that there is a degree. Now, my thing is why this is important as a leading indicator is that if you don't understand the stressors preceding these things, you try to get this data and you try to assemble a basically a model for like how things may play out based on past events, like the 2008 financial crisis. But this one thing stood out to me as one of the starkest things in the entire report, which is when we analyzed Google search trends, bankruptcy, near me, help with debt, is a leading indicator. And this is something we need to, and they're in breakout territory, meaning, so according to Google search trends, if they're in breakout territory, it means they've accelerated more than like 3,000% over the course of over the course of a month. But this was over the course of about 5 years. So they're in breakout territory in comparison to 5 years ago. This is significant because it's showing that households are under more stress than they've been. And it's kind of matching up with some degree of uncertainty. Not every situation is the same. There's some differences, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the one thing is to really pay attention to. These are people doing search queries on like trying to get help for debt, which has been on the ever increasing. I think the United States consumer related debt is, I believe, $1.8 trillion as of the last report. So average, that's on credit cards alone.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. It's insane. It's very high. So people are holding significantly higher debt than they have in the past. And what's happening is with increasing interest rates, it's become very, very, very unsustainable. And that's why we're seeing these numbers kind of play out the way they are. And it's showing up in Google search trends. So these are actual people typing this stuff in. It's not like we're just pulling it from some data source out of the blue. These are actually search terms, and they go into further. And so why don't we get to, we kind of hit Q5, we can go to question 6.
Yeah.
And we'll look at that.
Mm-hmm. So one of those things are job markets.
Mm-hmm.
The job market comes up a lot too. Searches for job market and job stress are at a high record high. What does that tell us?
So this was another thing. People are more stressed at work than they have been in 20 years. So we've monitored this with a good degree. So people who are typing in employment anxiety, job market Reddit has exploded. So this is people who are feeling uncertain in the work environment, and again pointing to a significant stressor. Now it's very important to mention that this is a record. These are record breakers since this is the one thing that's blared out that matches 2008 perfectly is job anxiety is at its highest in 2 decades. This is a leading indicator, and it should be a concern for anybody that's watching this or watching, whether watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever we're watching from on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
But this one thing is, this is one of the big red warnings because people are really stressed out about. So we have bankruptcy being one of the breakouts in search trends. We have job market and job related employment anxiety being one of the top searches in breakout territory over the course of the year, over the course of 5 years. They're in, and the last one being a 20-year high when it comes up to, when it shows up as employment anxiety.
Yeah, that's nuts. So at the same time, the stock market is also hitting record highs. How do we square that in with these foreclosure increases?
Yeah, this is one of the things that so the stock market's hitting record highs. I don't think across all segments they're at record highs, but there's a good program on Netflix, The Age of Easy Money, which is a great term. The difference why these, like Wall Street, I think what it is I think when they did the money printing stuff, they diluted the dollars and then kind of, so we have what we call the separation of classes to happen even more pronounced is that what's happening is that the dollar values are dropping while the concentration of the smaller dollar values are in fewer hands. And it seems to be Wall Street driven because equities are at their highest ever. So the product of what you're seeing is a series of high inflation combined with slower economic activity, but maybe in the hands of more players in equity who definitely know how to balance their portfolios based upon how much money is at hand at the moment. So as things, this is why it's important that managing debt is a key component to anybody's financial future. But I think people get, there's a sense of exuberance in markets when things are like, flying through the roof. Everybody thinks that, let's jump on the next big thing. Let's run at this head first. We can make money at this. And every single point in American history has kind of revolved around this boom bust kind of cycle. As things got easier, people they take on risks that more en masse, and this is one of those things that it can play a role. It's really to the degree. What concerns me about this is that anytime you're in kind of an environment where the market's extremely hot and as high as it's been, we're basically looking at like there comes a point of reversal. So all markets move up or down. I would say in business, there's no business ever runs like this. It runs like this, and you have to put that into perspective. So for every cycle high, there's going to be a cycle low, and how pronounced that is obviously based on the some of the long-term macro picture, which meaning holistically, completely, and but so the high can be pointing to the absolute high at this point before like these other indicators may start showing up in markets, including real estate. And I think that's really what people need to understand, because there's no doubt about it, guys. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, if you're not in the real estate market, you definitely know about it. If you're in it, or if you're selling it, it's been slower than it's been in a very, very long time. And the records show that we're at numbers that are 2008 numbers as far as volume of home sales have been stagnantly low, meaning the amount of home sales that are happening. So all you have to do is add 5% to the inventory, and you have a whole different real estate market. And with these new foreclosure filings up 50%, we may start seeing more of this coming on the market. It's not to the degree where I'm really concerned at the moment, because historically the actual filings are kind of like where they were pre-pandemic. The problem is that the percentage of increase month over month or year over year is more concerning to me, because we want to watch a trend, not necessarily an amount of how many more, but a trend will continue in one direction or another until it balances out. So until you see the break or a 3-month break, then you could start really taking pause and saying, hey, we're kind of like past out of the woods with just like foreclosures. But
so with that being said, what should buyers, sellers, and investors in New York and New Jersey watch most closely now?
They should watch us.
Yes.
But the big thing is, so market dynamics now, we are in a different era as far as like where we are in terms of markets in general. Okay. And why we're in a different era is after 2008, there was many stopgaps to problems that erupted in the economy. One of the things was quantitative easing, which is a new modern concept of how we do business, right? So in order to keep stocks or keep things kind of artificially high, the government will purchase stocks. It will the Fed, not the government, the Fed. Fed is not the government, but the Fed will purchase stocks, will provide supporting layers to keep volatility from affecting the market too much. That's a modern concept, by the way. Really instituted after 2008 financial crisis with quantitative easing is a modern philosophy. So where I think that's where like people need to take caution in is like, is there a big downturn ahead? There are more protections against that now than any point in history. It doesn't mean it can't happen, because I mean you could get like a what I call a spillover or a dam break, because if it gets too large. I don't think we don't have the same systemic problems yet, uh, but there are some that we have to pay attention to. But uh, these things are kind of I think for investors, for buyers, I would take caution in saying that prices are going to come down to a point, or if they do come down, it may be short lived. I do think overall, this has been an uneven economy for almost 4 years. Anybody who knows about just the economics, and the numbers are so screwed up now that you can't even get a good picture of an economy, because you could just tell they're not a true depiction for a lot of it. It's just there's a lot of numbers that are off. But what I will say is that for investors, um, prices are more reflective of value of the dollar decreasing than it is economic. So there's two factors involved. Now it's not the same factors we say, oh well, prices are coming down. If the value of a dollar comes down, prices may not ever come down, and I think people need to understand that. I'm not saying that they won't, but I think what happens is that the market's going to just be more limited. So meaning that there'll be fewer people in the market to buy and sell a home, maybe going into the next few years, because it's just going to become. I think it's becoming more of not so much values dropping in terms of actual dollar amounts. The value of what people are holding in their hands is really keeping the prices probably more artificially high than people realize. It's no different than bread. It's no different than gas. It's no different than any product. So, somebody says, well, demand for something goes down, but if the value of what you're using to purchase is also down, and people aren't buying, but the price seems to still sit there, it has to do with you're going to need it at some point, and there's not enough volume to support. They'll just draw back on inventory, and that's been the story for the last 3 years. Inventory has declined, produced less for fewer people, and the market has definitely exhibited this throughout the last 4 to 5 years, especially. So, everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, a big drop is coming." No, because what's happening is that it's going down to the people who can buy and who can sell is limited, and the people that have to sell. And I've said this before: sellers necessarily kind of, whether we like it or not, they hold the cards in the equation, right? My always saying is, just because you think my shoes are worth $5 doesn't mean I have to take them off for $5 and give them to you. It's still their possession, and so I don't care. It's like guys, and even during that, like the people who are arguing about the market, and it's like, oh, don't they realize the market's not doing well? They don't really have to care. It's in their possession. In order for you to get someone to lose their grip of that possession, and you like it, you have to pay for that. It doesn't matter. And the funny thing is, like, everybody thought the 2008 crisis was like, in real estate was like this big, like everything would drop. We had bidding wars in 2008. I hate to warn everybody, but they were. I never forgot we had one on Winchester Avenue here in Eltonville, and it was absolutely insane. There was 80 people at a and it was in the midst of the Great Recession, and people and it bid over list price. So because at the end of the day, supply. If a house has something that everybody really likes, it's going to go. If it has nothing people like, but where I'm coming into this is all the small things that you thought were insignificant before will become heightened. So location will become more pronounced. People will definitely skew their appeal for something just based on location considerably. We've seen this before. I've seen it happen before. Location, updates, little things like that will now start playing a more increasing role as more inventory comes on the market. Doesn't mean you're going to get a lower price, but some of these small things will add up to big dollars later, and that's the type of market we're in. We have to understand that's what a lot of the data is showing us, is that things are just slower, but it may be a little bit premature to say, oh, there's like a collapse coming. I think there's just too much in the protections now not for that to happen. But I'm repeating myself.
So now let's get into the top 5 searched trend spikes report that we have here. What are the biggest jumps we're seeing in search trends right now?
Well, why don't you start with what number? We have number 5, right?
Yeah, so we'll start number 5 first.
Yes. The economy. So there are 5 pronounced spikes. 5 pronounced spikes. 2008, 2011, 2020, just prior to just around the pandemic. So 2008, 2011. Yes, there was a mini, nobody really realized in 2010, 2011, there was another mini drawdown in markets. It wasn't as pronounced as 2008, but there was another drop down in 2011, and then it slowly started to head back upward. So economy is the search term economy are in the territory as they were at these particular points: 2008, 2011, and 2020. So people have higher anxiety levels than they've had. Of the last 20 years, it's in the top 5 of the 20.
Yes. And
yeah, you can get into it.
Yeah, so number 4 is anxiety medication.
Yes. This is great, guys. I want to just put this into this perspective. This is like a controversial subject when we talked about it before we came on air. Do we even mention this? Yeah, but why not? Because
it's up there. So
anxiety medication is the highest it's ever been since they've been recording data on Google.
Wow.
So that is not, it's not anomalous to say that this isn't clearly a problem, because it is. It's huge. I mean, I looked at it was staggering, and that's showing that the level of anxiety just in the general populace is extremely, extremely high, the highest ever. So Google's been around since started tracking data in 2004. And if you look at the spikes that you're talking about, it is extremely high. Obviously, during 2008, they spiked again, just around the pandemic, and then really dropping off, but now have reached all-time highs, and it's the highest ever recorded. So it's controversial to talk about that as being a factor in economics. Why are so many Americans turning to anxiety medication at a record rate, at least searching for it? And we have to look at that. It's a factor. People are under a lot of significant stress. Why is that happening? What is going on? And you know what? You don't really get this much in the news, but there is a general sense of it out there. You could see it. We just deal with a lot of people on a daily basis, and one of the things you see is just levels of anxiety that you haven't seen in a while. We deal with a lot of homeowners. We deal with a lot of personal situations with homeowners, and there's a very heightened sense of anxiety. Even our deals are much more difficult. A lot of emotional ties to whatever it is we're looking at in terms of price adjustments, things like that. They're much more difficult to come by, and people are very stressed out about it. So it's important to note.
Yeah. And number 3 is the job market that we talked about briefly before.
That's that's number 3 of the top 5. So the job market, again, are record highs. Explored job stress is the highest it's been in 2 decades. Workers are both burned out and worried about layoffs. Yeah. You're not stressed out, though, I could tell. She doesn't feel she doesn't feel she's isolated from the stress here.
Yes. Yes. And then number 2 is mortgage help.
Yes, which we talked about briefly.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening again. Mortgage help saw one of the most pronounced spikes 2008, 2020, and the third highest right now is 2025.
Wow.
Mortgage help is become one of the top search terms in just so you know, I think I have breakdowns even by county, and some of them are registering quite high. Mortgage help is again a search trend. This is not a good sign. I just caution people. And why it's important is that if you're not understanding this data and how it may impact you, especially if you're in the selling position, these things I would say they're flashing yellow, and we better be concerned about what that means. And that's why it's important why we're bringing it up here. What's the big one?
Number 1 on the list is bankruptcy near me.
Yes. You going bankrupt, Keri? No.
Nope.
Bankruptcy is the leading search term. Bankruptcy near me, bankruptcy attorney near me. This encompasses people who are seeking bankruptcy help. Again, debt was high. Yeah, I mean, the top 5. Like we just did. Look at bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's like super
Mortgage help
big
in bankruptcy is like huge.
increase. Yeah.
So this is 20. Let me just give you these are 20-year highs in the report we gave. So, economy climbing in mirrors 2008, 2011, 2020. Anxiety medication 20-year high, which is basically the encompassing the entire Google database.
Mm-hmm.
Job market and stress. Job market plus Reddit 20-year high. Job stress being at a 20-year high. Mortgage help. Major surge, 2008, 2020, today.
Mm-hmm.
Bankruptcy near me, the highest since 2008. This is not to scare you guys. It's to keep you informed. And if you're informed, you can make a better decision.
Yes.
So, like, I know it sounds like this, oh, and sometimes, we've kept things light recently. This is one of the more darker things
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about. But I felt it was so pronounced because it's emotion will get you into trouble when it comes to dealing with these things. So, guys, and I understand, I have a lot of people who justify things to me in text and with home prices, and like, guys, the tea leaves will tell you the tale. It's not like we think, some people think something should happen more or less. Yeah, there are certain aspects to this that are very indicative of effort. But on the other hand, a lot of this is indicative that there are other things happening around us that are not particularly in our control. While these numbers are not, these are good. I always say Google search trends, which we definitely have to incorporate into our thinking now, has to be part of our strategy of moving in the real estate market or any market, to be honest with you, because it gives us a broader sense of, and these are down to regional levels. We could actually monitor these spikes right down to like the neighborhood. So where neighborhoods are located, and you could see stress points like developing just through how people are searching. But the fact that the ones we mentioned here, and you can go back through this and go through each one of them, the fact that we're mentioning them here is basically saying it's something that has to be watched. And if you're in the market, regardless of what market it is, it's something that you should be paying attention to. Because if you're not, these things tend to, be brought up by like a sudden change somewhere in like the market. Like most people will say, oh, well, the real estate market or the stock market fell 15% in the course of, I think, earlier this year, March, April, there was like a 15% correction, and people just like freaked out, and it was like freaked out of like what's happening with the economy. But there are a lot of things that lead up to these things, and this is why these numbers, and why when we talk about pricing strategy, we have to say, okay, what are these indicators telling us about how really people are feeling? And this is going to brought into, and I hate to say this is probably the most reliable data there is because it is search. Because like there's other things like consumer sentiment reports and like that's given to organizations, and it's not really it's a vetted process. The difference between Google search trends, it's actually like to me, you're going to get a better data set because it's just reporting when people are typing instead of doing like a survey. With surveys, as a general, could be skewed, and like consumer sentiment's up 1.2%. But if Google search trends are not there, I wouldn't be too optimistic that you actually get a true sense of things through a lot of these numbers. We've seen that with jobs numbers. We've seen like everybody knew the job market was terrible, but yet they were, and it wasn't until recently that they found the job numbers are actually absolutely horrific. And it's like the data comes late, but let's not focus on like where the data comes from at the moment because we already gave that to you. Let's focus on like if you're in the market to do something. This is data sets we are now addressing as part of like our strategy to kind of like make sure pricing and stuff like that is in line with maybe future expectations. And if you don't do that, you're going to really fall behind in terms of maximizing value, even if it doesn't seem like you are. And everybody's like, that's not, everybody, I hate to say this. We were on plenty of appointments throughout the week. And, there are plenty of people out there who could paint a silk cat on a pig. But it's happening more frequently. You have to really just take these into consideration. And I really think that understanding what the data sets we went over kind of mirror that.
Yes.
Wait, let me make that for you. I can do this like this here. But so what's the biggest trend you think will be in 2026?
I honestly feel like the same thing.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah. I don't really see a
How do you
difference.
Well, before we get off, I mean, how do you view all this? Like, does this make you scared?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, she's not scared at all.
No,
Look at her
it
smile.
No,
she planned a vacation, so we'll be off the air for a week.
In November.
Yeah. So you can't really wipe the smile. Not even the bad news has seen. But guys, I hate to say this. You may think that and like I said, I think most of the reports we've done now have been more optimistic. This was really in depth. I do think that we got into really into the crux of the state of things by going directly into how consumers behave online. And how they behave helps you understand how to better position yourself.
Yes.
Right? We want to make sure people position themselves well.
Yeah.
And we want to demonstrate that we are on top of these things all the time. All right?
Yes.
So that's what we have for tonight. If you have a question, give them our socials. You do that part.
Yeah, so you could follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Nextdoor.
Yeah, Nextdoor, folks. That's like a big thing now. Nextdoor is pretty big.
Yeah, Nextdoor is good.
Do you use it?
I look at it, not frequently, but
you like find like lost pets and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like big for lost pets, right?
Yeah, and like other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annoying neighbors. I love those. They get nasty in those things.
Yeah, especially
like if you make noise, they're like everybody's noise complaints around there. Who the heck is that? What is the noise coming from in the back of so and so? But anyway, that's what we have for you guys. If you have a question, of course, feel free to send us a message, and we'll hope to answer it.
Yes.
Have a great Friday, everyone, and thank you for watching and keep watching.
Yes.
In the future.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.